We're back to the Neil Haley Show on the Author's Corner segment. And, it's very interesting this time period. Everything seems like it's calm last week, and the storm hits again this week. And we've been dealing with this in the coronavirus for many, many, many months, and then the civil unrest, and now it's hit a fever pitch again. I think we're all ready but our guest will help us now to feel calm and peace in one of the probably strangest times in history. So I'm excited to welcome to the program author Gene Walters. Gene, thanks for calling. How are you?
Oh, thank you, Neil. I'm so happy to be here with you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I'm happy to talk to your client. You're a messenger, and I'm a messenger. And I'm happy to share.
Exactly, to my big audience of listeners all over the world, and specifically enough, we want to kind of really delve in a short period of time some great ways for them to get peace, not be anxious. But let's talk about your journey first of all. Why are you out, going on all these radio shows and doing Zooms and everything? What is your mission? Why did you do that?
Well, it started way back when I was a kid, and I had a mom who was really pretty much a nervous wreck. And I think today she would have been diagnosed and probably medicated, but at that point, we didn't do that. And so she was so nervous that anything at all she could focus on, she could make a story about it and make it 10 times worse than it was. Maybe even take something good and make it into something bad. But the point when I was growing up, it bothered me so much. I kept trying to talk her out of being nervous. I kept trying to talk her out of being afraid. That wasn't very effective, by the way.
Yes.
But what I realized is I have to find another way. I mean, she was really my motivation in life, which I think often happens, but I had to find another way to live because I wasn't going to follow in that pattern. And that's basically was the precursor to my work with people, to find a way that we could live in joy and peace, because that's our heritage too.
Yes.
So if we learn to manage our mind, we can actually do that. The mind is the creator, and so when we're constantly feeding it with what about this and what, be afraid of that, and what if this, and what we're doing is creating stress, chaos, inflammation, just a struggle through life. And it doesn't have to be that way. And that's the point. It just doesn't have to be that way. So one of the things, some of the simple things that can be done is walk outside, go out in nature, even if it's for 5 minutes at a time, and recognize that there's a rhythm with nature. If you even watch a tree, you'll see how graceful it is. If the wind blows, it's gentle. Unless there's a tornado, and then that's just an expungement of energy. But when we go into nature, we can recognize a rhythm there, and we can learn to adapt ourselves to nature. So one of the best things to do is just every day spend some time in nature, even if it's 5 minutes at a time, and learn to adapt yourself to that rhythm. And that will immediately calm you down. And then there's other things that can be done too. First of all, reframing your mind. There's a saying that the mind is a terrible master, but a great servant. And that means when we learn to manage our mind and put it where we want it to be, then we can live a life that is much more productive and joyful.
Exactly.
So that could be as simple as finding the good in other people.
Exactly. So when you talk about the mind, and that mind, it's so important to look at the positive. But I also believe that it leads to your actions and your next experience. Basically, if you're in an upset, angry, depressed, anxious mood, you're not going to have the success in anything that you do. And if you go in with peace and understanding that, hey, there's going to be times that fall, but my preparation, my understanding before it even happens that it's going to be a success is going to help a lot of times. And that times are going to fall. And then you got to let your mind understand, especially as an entrepreneur, the roller coaster ride that you're on, that, okay, just today doesn't seem great, but there was a lesson to be learned from that.
Also, yeah, that's exactly it. I would go to the lesson. What is that lesson? How can we improve from this point? In each experience, we, instead of calling it good or bad, why not use it as an opportunity?
So,
And that's part of the book too, is see the
yeah.
possibilities.
Exactly. And you did mention, and I was asking your mission, you went right into, but you did not mention this is a book you have out, it's available now. So explain
Yes.
why you've written the book. You talked about your mission, and I tell you, that's exactly what you need. This is the perfect time to do this. But everyone says,
Yes.
hey, I've been told this and I can't do it. But your book
Yeah.
lays it out for them,
Yes.
right?
It lays it out in simple techniques. They're practical steps. I guess the key point in my work is practicality. I'm always looking for the way to apply each thing. So the book is called The Journey from Anxiety to Peace: Practical Steps to Handle Fear, Embrace Struggle, and Eliminate Worry to Become Happy and Free. So I was not able to get my mother, or to convince my mother, to let go of some of her worries. But what I have done is find ways that I can help other people do that very thing. And it is a practical way to do it. I do want to offer this book to your listeners. I do, if they would email me at jean@spiritualtransformation.com, my email address, I will send them a free copy of the book. And the reason for that is I do want to, it's time to make a change in the world. I think people are ready. There's a lot of people that are ready to make a change. It's a discipline to really shift your mind from fear to worry. But there's only those two energies. Those are the only two energies that exist. Fear. I'm sorry, fear. It's a weird word. Fear to peace. Fear
Yes.
and peace. Fear would be anxiety, struggle, and worry, and peace is the same as love and joy and calmness. So we have the ability to shift, but we have to train ourselves to be able to do that. And just like you were saying, you're finding something in, even if there's a quote failure or things didn't turn out exactly the way you thought, you look for what the lesson is, which is a very practical way to go through life.
So why give the book away for free? What is your reasoning for
Well,
that?
Well, there's two things. One is that first of all, I want people to have the practices in the book. They're a lifelong journey for me. I've been developing these ideas for 40 years, and I want them to have it. And secondly, I think they can share it. They'll start sharing it with other people. And, ultimately that could end up in book sales for sure. But basically, I feel like I'm an agent of change in this time. I think you are too. And I think that that's part of my mission, is to sort of, in a way, create ripples in the lake where people begin to realize they have choices. So I want to help create a world where our people are living in a higher energy than what we've been living in.
And see, I think that's very important, and we want this to be a very interesting introduction interview to Jean, because ultimately there's many different topics to cover with you regarding your book. But ultimately, then people need to get this offer. I mean, to have an offer to say you're
Sure.
going to mail them a copy of this book so that they can too feel this and then share it with their friends and relatives. Make sure
Sure.
that they can too can feel this, because it's just such a hard time. So for our listeners right now, what would be one step right now for them to do to gain more peace? What would you recommend?
Well, the simplest thing is to go to gratitude. We live in a world. I mean, we can look at all the things that are going wrong, but also we can look at the things that are right. And every one of us has so much to be grateful for. What happens when you start being grateful? When you look at your home, when you look at your family, when you look at the things that are working, when you do that, your energy raises. What happens when your energy raises, when you have a high energy, when you're living in a place of gratitude and joy? Your immune system is strong. This has all been proven scientifically, by the way, and I do have some of the facts in the book. But what we want to do is bring our happiness up, our joy up, our peace up, so that we can develop a strong immune system, for one thing, but also we just live a better quality of life. So gratitude. Think about every day, think about 5, 10, 20. I mean, one fella decided he was going to be grateful for coffee. And
Yeah.
so he started thinking about how he loved coffee. He's grateful for the guys that grow the beans, and then
That's so
he's
great.
grateful for the guys that put it in their truck and drive it to market. Then he's grateful for the guys that grind up the beans. And pretty soon he was in a list of hundreds of things he was grateful for.
So you start thinking that gratitude, that's such an important thing. And one of our syndicators of the Gratitude Radio Network, so a shout out to the Gratitude Radio Network, is I'm in process of helping as a consultant help grow their network as I help grow each and every different radio network I'm syndicated on, and new sponsors keep coming on every day. So I'm grateful that I get to do something I love and get and make money. But it took a lot of time to have that opportunity. So people out there that just started a podcast or thinking about starting a podcast, it takes a lot of hours and a lot of hard work and a lot of networking and never giving up to get to where they are today. So where can we go connect? So you recommend going to the email to get the free book, but also you have information. Do you have a website that people can go to as well, Jean?
Yeah, my website is spiritualtransformation.com. It's a singular, spiritualtransformation.com. And there is information on there about the various books I've written. I have 5 books on Amazon right now. And just the things I do. But also there's when they join my blog, I send out a blog that is just like an upbeat blog, a message that can pick people's energy up, where they can feel, begin to look at things from another perspective. I think a lot of releasing stress is learning how to look at things from a different perspective. And oftentimes we make them bad or we make them good, and it's a very narrow perspective. But if we begin to look at things like you were saying, I find the lesson in that, and then I can move forward with it. And oftentimes we're not looking for the lesson. We're just looking at I want to sit and feel bad about myself for a while, and it's not particularly effective,
Well, thanks again for calling. I appreciate you coming on the show, and hopefully everyone will take this opportunity, because I've had many authors that are not offering such a great offer like this, so everyone needs to check it out. So thanks again for calling, Jean.
Thank you so much, Neil.
Take care.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. You're listening to Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.